Here is our interview with Gregory Wrightstone. I want to take you what I see as the logical progression through the whole climate change question. But before we do, are you able to comment just a bit on what's going on with Russia and Ukraine and our energy production? For instance, just today, Biden came out, I'm sure you heard, and is banning Russian oil. And there seems to be some dispute regarding some of the facts. For instance, the Biden administration is saying that we produce more oil today than ever. So this whole idea that Biden has done anything to limit oil production in America is just wrong. Can you address that?
Oh, sure. What they've stated as fact is easily proven. It peaked in late oil production in the United States peaked in late 2019. And if we look, and they're also blaming, they're saying, well, the reason gasoline prices were so low is because of this pandemic. Well, I'm going to use my cheat sheet here. In December of 2019, that's pre-COVID, the economy's booming, and gasoline prices were $2.54. When he took over, they were $2.38, slightly lower than the pre-COVID, the end of the pre-COVID. When he pulled out of Afghanistan, it was $3.15, and today, what is it, $4.50 and rising? And we were before when he took office, the week that he was inaugurated, it was the first week since 1985 that the United States had not imported 1 barrel of oil from Saudi Arabia. The very first. So we had finally, after decades and decades of working at it, and Trump freeing up the entrepreneurs in the oil patch to go get it, we finally became nearly or possibly completely energy independent.
So, sorry, say that again about Saudi Arabia, that we were not buying from them?
That was the first week since 1985 that we had not bought 1 barrel of oil from Saudi Arabia. The week he took over and it was inaugurated.
Were we buying it from Russia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the Saudis were used to be one of our largest importers.
So we were producing so much in the U.S. that we didn't need to buy from Saudi Arabia anymore.
Right.
And then Biden takes over. So let's talk about what are the factors driving up gas prices before the Ukraine war.
Yeah, well, we had problems with. Number one, we had with COVID, it did drive oil prices down substantially because of demand component, which slowed down drilling, which then slowed down the new oil coming online. That was probably the first thing. But whenever he took office, he made a series of decisions on his first day in office. He did 3 things that were very impactful on oil prices. One, as everyone knows, is the killing of the XL pipeline, which would have brought Canadian tar sands oil, 830,000 barrels into the United States. A fair portion of that's still getting down via tanker trucks or tanker cars on rail, but not nearly as much and as fast as what it would with the pipeline. And that pipeline that he killed is the safest method of transportation by far of any way to move oil.
Well, also, if you don't have trucks bringing it down, then that would be fewer emissions, wouldn't it?
It would. And the trains that bring most of it also emit quite a bit.
Right.
But I'm okay. I'm okay with a big carbon footprint because, as you'll learn, we're really bullish on the many, many benefits of carbon dioxide. But the other 2 things he did that very same day, he killed XL. He banned leasing in federal lands, which is primarily Gulf of Mexico and Alaska.
Let's just real quick, is that a big deal or not? Because the administration is saying, only 10% of U.S. drilling comes on federal land.
Yeah, 10% is a lot. That's a lot. That's 2 million barrels a day come out of the Gulf Coast, out of the Gulf. So yeah, to say that 10 million barrels a day is not a lot of oil is, again, just being disingenuous.
Now, was that stopping new wells or new? So whatever's being produced right now continues to get produced on federal land. Okay.
Correct. But you need to keep replenishing. I'm probably telling you what you already know, but with an oil well or a natural gas well, your peak production comes very early, and then you have this kind of a hyperbolic decline where the decline is greatest at the beginning and then diminishes and flattens out, but it keeps declining. So it's the new wells coming online that produce the highest volumes of oil. But later, he also banned drilling in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, thought to be the largest undeveloped oil accumulation in North America. And he also banned, and I'm struggling here to think what the third thing was, but it was, the ban, well, it was Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, leasing in federal property, and XL Pipeline. And then last week, he's been doing a series of these things. Last week, he said, we're not going to issue any new pipeline permits. FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, no more new pipeline permits. Well, if you can't build a pipeline, particularly for it's really mainly natural gas, if you can't build that pipeline, you can't bring the product to market. Why drill the wells? And last week, he banned drilling in the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska, which is that piggybacks onto the other ANWR development that's not going to happen, because Prudhoe Bay was the huge oil field in Alaska that we built the big pipeline south. Well, Prudhoe Bay is in significant decline now. The pipeline is nearing its economic limit. And as production continues to decline out of Prudhoe Bay, we're not that far from that pipeline reaching its economic limit. Will have to be decommissioned. And when that occurs, those other two fields we talked about were super giants, actually, probably. That oil would have flowed through the pipeline. It would have extended the life of that pipeline for many, many decades. If those don't occur, that pipeline will be decommissioned, and that all the remaining oil will be stranded probably forever. So these are the things that piggyback one on the other. Bad decisions now lead to horrific consequences 5, 10, 20 years in the future.
What was his justification for canceling the XL pipeline?
Climate change. We're all going to die in 10 years, and the plant's going to be destroyed because of carbon dioxide emissions. And if what we're doing is enabling these dirty oil producers to produce more oil that'll lead to more carbon dioxide, which will lead to more catastrophic warming, and we'll perish quicker. So that's the reasoning, and it's false.
And let's state the obvious, which is that for climate change activists, which includes Joe Biden and Bernie and his partner Bernie Sanders, the higher the prices of gas are, the better, because suddenly wind and solar doesn't look as expensive as compared, right?
Yeah, that's the dirty little secret here. This has been his plan all along. This has been you remember when Obama said we're going to ban coal and we're going to ban oil, and it's going to lead to higher, much difficult and higher higher costs for consumers. He admitted that, and that's the Biden plan. He stated it as a candidate, and he stated it after he got elected, and he started enacting it. Was we need to drive all forms of energy from fossil fuels or fossil energy sources, either by creating from electricity generation or for transportation. We need to, his goal was to increase significantly the cost of oil and natural gas and any electricity generated from it. The plan was to do it using carbon taxation schemes, these faux conservatives like to call it carbon dividends, because doesn't sound as bad, but all of these things would have driven the costs of oil, gasoline, natural gas significantly. And what this Ukrainian invasion has done is just accelerated their timetable for this great increase in prices. This was their plan all along, to get these prices where they are. It's just been accelerated by a few years.
Okay, so then, sorry, help explain then, if Biden wants higher prices, which I think you and I tend to agree on that, why did he hesitate for so long in banning Russian gas? He claims it's because I'm concerned about prices and I don't want to hurt the American people, but something doesn't make sense there.
Let me just correct you for a second there. You said Russian gas. It's really Russian oil.
Okay.
So the Russian gas, natural gas, would be coming through the pipeline that was constructed. The Russian oil's coming through various ships over to us, to our ports. Banning Russian oil is likely not going to do a darn thing to decrease, to affect our global oil prices, because oil is a fungible commodity, and there have been enough other countries that have already stated we'll buy all the oil. Japan has just, I think it was yesterday, said we're going to continue buying Russian oil, and we may step it up. China has said they're going to buy Russian oil. So there are other people out there willing to buy it. Since oil is a fungible commodity, it's in the worldwide stage. A barrel of oil sold by Russia to Japan is really kind of the same as a barrel of oil sold to us, at least for their purposes.
Thank you again to Gregory Wrightstone. You can check out his book, Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know, wherever you get books. Also, as I mentioned in the interview, you can get it for free on Amazon as an audiobook. Thank you to our producer, Michael Parker. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back soon with another episode of The Hidden Truth Show.
Thank you for listening to The Hidden Truth Show with Jim Breslow. You can find us at hiddentruthshow.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Hidden Truth Show. Join us again next week for another episode of Hidden Truth Show with Jim Breslow.